No one understood the Korean millionaire until the poor cleaning lady did, and she gave him coffee with cinnamon. That's when an unlikely love story began. Before we start, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The front doors of the lobby opened, and Ji-hoo walked in, followed only by his driver. Bruno, the manager, was behind the counter and nearly choked on his own breath. "He's here," he whispered to the receptionists, already sweating. "Where's the translator?" No one answered. One of them glanced at the clock and mumbled, "He's not here yet, sir." Bruno went pale. "What do you mean, not here yet? That man doesn't even speak English. Do I need to draw pictures for you?" Ji-hoo reached the counter and said something in Korean, his expression serious. The staff looked at each other, completely lost. "What did he say?" Bruno asked. I don't know." One receptionist whispered. Ji-hoo repeated himself, this time with more firmness. Bruno pulled out a translation app on his phone, but the robotic voice said something that made no sense. Ji-hoo frowned, clearly irritated, and raised his voice. "Oh my God," Bruno muttered, wiping his face. "He's upset. I'm going to lose my job because of you people." Right then, Maya was pushing her cleaning cart through the lobby. She glanced over and saw everyone frozen in panic, not understanding a word, while Ji-hoo kept speaking in a language no one else knew. But she understood him perfectly. He was asking for coffee. Without thinking twice, she walked over to the machine in the corner. Bruno was still barking out orders and didn't even notice. Maya made the coffee, added a bit of cinnamon and a touch of honey. While everyone was still trying to figure out what to do, she walked up to Ji-hoo with the cup in her hands and said in Korean, "Good morning, sir. I brought you your coffee, and I took the liberty of adding a bit of cinnamon and a little honey to sweeten your day." The whole lobby froze. One of the receptionists dropped their pen. Bruno's eyes widened like he'd seen a ghost. Ji-hoo stopped and stared at Maya for a few seconds. Then suddenly, his expression softened. He took the coffee with both hands, took a sip, and let out a satisfied, Then, still speaking Korean, he asked, "You speak my language fluently?" Maya smiled. "Enough to understand you were asking for coffee." Bruno finally moved and came over to her. "Maya, since when do you speak Korean?" "Since I started watching Korean dramas and studying on my own." "Why?" Ji-hoo let out a small laugh, something no one expected to hear anytime soon. He looked at Bruno, then at Maya, and said calmly, "I want her to come with me and be my interpreter." Bruno turned to Maya. "What did he just say now?" Still in disbelief, Maya replied, "He wants me to go with him and be his interpreter." Bruno blinked several times, stunned. "What? She's just the cleaning lady!" Ji-hoo was already heading toward the elevator, leaving everyone speechless. Maya stood still for a moment until Ji-hoo motioned for her to follow him. Before she could think too much, she left her cart behind and walked after him, with no idea what she was getting into. As the elevator doors were closing, Ji-hoo said something in Korean that made Maya's eyes widen. He had just said, "And I want to have coffee with you every day while I'm here." The elevator opened on the top floor, and Maya felt her stomach turn, not just from the ride, but from the completely surreal situation she was in. There she was, in her plain cleaning uniform, standing next to one of the richest men in Asia, who had just told her he wanted to have coffee with her every day. "Mr. Ji-hoo," Maya began, trying to find the right words in Korean. "I can't accept being your interpreter. I'm just a cleaning lady. I'm not qualified for that." Ji-hoo stopped in front of the door to the presidential suite and turned to her, his expression serious but kind. "Maya, you speak my language better than anyone else at this resort, and more importantly, you were the only one who cared enough to understand me while everyone else was panicking. But sir, I have no experience with business, no idea about contracts or—" "You know how to listen," Ji-hoo interrupted, swiping his card at the door, "and that's more valuable than any degree." Maya nervously fidgeted with her hands, still holding the cleaning rag she had forgotten to put down. "And what if I mess up? What if I say something wrong?" Ji-hoo opened the door to the suite and motioned for her to come in. The place was stunning. A large room with an ocean view, elegant furniture, and a decor that probably cost more than Maya's yearly salary. "Maya," Ji-hoo said, closing the door behind them, I'll explain everything to the resort's board. You don't need to worry about that. Maya looked around, feeling completely out of place. Her worn-out sneakers clashed with the marble floor, and she realized she was still wearing her dirty work uniform. I'm really not sure I can do this, she murmured, more to herself than to him. Jihu stepped closer and spoke firmly, but without sounding bossy. Maya, I'm asking for your help. You saved me from a very awkward situation downstairs. Now I need someone I can trust. There was something in his voice that touched her. It wasn't arrogance or superiority, but a genuine honesty she didn't expect from someone in his position. All right, she finally said with a sigh. I'll do it. But on one condition. Jihu raised his eyebrows, curious. If I make a mistake, you tell me right away. I don't want you to be polite just to spare my feelings. A small smile appeared on Jihu's face. Deal. The next day, Maya could hardly believe the transformation. She stood in front of the mirror in the women's locker room, wearing an elegant business outfit that had been delivered to her home the night before, along with new shoes and a temporary badge that read, International Communications Assistant. Oh my goodness, she whispered to the mirror. Who is this person? The fabric was soft and high quality, nothing she had ever worn before. The blazer fit her shoulders perfectly, and the skirt was the ideal length. Even the shoes, which she feared would be uncomfortable, felt like they had been made for her. When she arrived at the front desk, every employee turned to look at her. Bruno almost spilled his coffee when he saw her. Maya? He asked, blinking several times. Is that really you? Good morning, Bruno, she replied, trying to hide her nervousness. Where's Mr. Jihu? He's in the meeting room, waiting for you, Bruno stammered, still processing the transformation. Maya walked through the resort's hallways with a mix of nerves and excitement. Staff who had barely acknowledged her before now watched her with curiosity and, in some cases, a hint of envy. She found Jihu in the meeting room, looking over some documents. When he saw her, his face lit up with a genuine smile. Perfect, he said in Korean. You look like a true professional. Maya felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. Thank you for the clothes. They must have cost a fortune. Don't worry about that, Jihu said with a dismissive wave. Now, I need you to help me understand a few things about this resort. Over the next 2 hours, Jihu asked questions that seemed simple at first, but Maya could tell there was a sharp mind behind each one. How long have you been working here? He asked as they sipped coffee on the suite's balcony. 2 years, Maya replied. I started right after finishing high school. And how would you describe the work environment? Maya hesitated for a moment. The question sounded harmless, but she felt there was something deeper behind it. Well, it depends. For the guests, everything is perfect. For the staff, things can be a bit complicated sometimes. Complicated how? Maya's honesty began to outweigh her caution. Bruno, the manager, sometimes treats the staff like we're invisible, and there's a very strict hierarchy here. Housekeeping staff rarely get promoted, no matter how capable they are. Jihu nodded, making a few discreet notes. And what about management? Do you think the resort is well run? Maya took a sip of coffee, thinking about her answer. Financially, I think it's doing well. We always have important guests like you, but... She stopped, wondering if she should go on. But, Jihu prompted, sometimes I get the impression that things are done too quickly, without much research, like there's a rush to close deals. That made Jihu look up from his notes and meet her eyes. Interesting. You're very observant. Maybe it's because when you're cleaning places, you end up seeing things others don't, Maya said with a shrug. And what else have you seen? Maya realized she was talking too much, being too honest. But something about Jihu made her feel comfortable sharing her thoughts. Well, for example, Bruno always gets nervous when important guests arrive. Not excited nervous, more like he's hiding something. Jihu leaned forward slightly, clearly interested. And you think he's hiding something? I probably shouldn't say that, Maya said quickly. It's not professional for me to make assumptions about my boss. Maya, Jihu said gently, your opinion matters to me. You know this place better than anyone. There was something in the way he said her name that made her heart beat just a little faster. The genuine attention he gave to her words was something she had never experienced before. Well, she continued, feeling oddly comfortable. Sometimes I overhear things I probably shouldn't, and I get the feeling that Bruno is rushing to close deals, like he doesn't want the investors to have enough time to really look things over. Jihu took a few more notes, and Maya noticed he was taking her comments very seriously. "You're incredibly smart," he said, and Maya felt a warmth rise up her neck. "I just pay attention to things." "That's a rare quality," Jihu smiled. "Most people only see what they want to see." The moment was interrupted when Jihu's phone rang. He answered in Korean, and Maya could tell it was about a meeting that had been scheduled for later. After he hung up, Jihu stood. "I need to take care of a few things. Could you meet me at the admin office later?" "Of course," Maya replied, standing as well. As they walked back through the resort, Maya couldn't help but notice the way people were looking at them. It wasn't just curiosity, there was something different about the way Jihu treated her. He walked beside her, not ahead. He held doors open for her. He asked her opinion about things others might think were unimportant. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said as they waited for the elevator. "Of course." "Why do you trust me so much? You barely know me." Jihu thought for a moment before answering. "Sometimes, Maya, you can get a sense of someone's character in just a few minutes. The way you brought me that coffee yesterday, there was real kindness in that. And that's something you can't fake." The elevator arrived, and as they rode down, Maya felt a mix of emotions she couldn't quite define. There was gratitude, of course, but also something deeper. A connection she hadn't expected to feel. When they reached the ground floor, Maya said she needed to grab some documents from Bruno's office. Jihu agreed to meet her later. As Maya headed down the hall toward the administrative area, she heard voices coming from Bruno's office. The door was slightly open, and she recognized his voice along with Roberto's, the financial manager. "We need to get the Korean to sign this contract fast without digging too much," Bruno was saying, sounding rushed. Maya stopped in her tracks, feeling her blood run cold. "But what if he finds out about the irregularities?" Roberto asked. "He won't, not if we don't give him time. That's why I hired the right interpreter. I just didn't expect that nosy cleaning lady to speak Korean." "What now? She can translate everything correctly." "We'll have to take care of that," Bruno replied in a tone that sent chills down Maya's spine, one way or another. Maya quietly backed away from the door, her heart pounding. Her instincts had been right. Bruno really was hiding something. And now, she and Jihu were caught up in something much bigger and far more dangerous than they had imagined. Maya spent the rest of the morning trying to process what she had heard. Bruno's words kept echoing in her mind. "We need to get the Korean to sign this contract fast without digging too much." She knew she had to tell Jihu, but wasn't sure how to bring it up without sounding like she was making up stories about her boss. When Jihu met her at the front desk around noon, she was still clearly tense. "Are you okay?" he asked in Korean, noticing the worried look on her face. Yes, Maya answered quickly, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about a few things." Jihu studied her for a moment, clearly sensing that something was bothering her, but chose not to press. "I was thinking, how about we have lunch together?" he suggested. "The resort restaurant has a great view, and I'd like to talk more about your observations from yesterday." Maya felt her stomach twist. The idea of having lunch with Jihu made her nervous in more ways than one. "Mr. Jihu, I don't think that would be appropriate," she said, fidgeting with her badge. "I'm your assistant. It wouldn't be professional." "Maya," Jihu said gently, "I'm inviting you as a friend. Besides, I need your perspective on a few things, and a relaxed conversation might help. But people will see us. They'll talk." "Let them talk," Jihu shrugged. "What they think doesn't matter to me." Maya hesitated, looking around. She could already see a few staff members watching them with barely hidden curiosity. "I really don't think this is a good idea." "Please," Jihu insisted, and there was something in his voice that made Maya look straight at him. "It would be a favor to me. I hate eating alone." The honesty in his eyes made Maya give in. "All right," she sighed, "but just this once." The resort's restaurant was elegant, with tables arranged on a terrace, offering a stunning view of the Pacific Ocean. Maya had never eaten there as a guest, only cleaned the tables after others had finished their meals. When they walked in together, the matron almost choked in surprise, seeing Maya not as an employee, but as Jihu's guest. "A table for two, please," Jihu said, and Maya translated for the maître. "Of course, Mr. Han," he replied, still eyeing Maya curiously. "Right this way." They were led to a table in the corner with a perfect view of the ocean. Maya sat down stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. "Relax," Jihu said, noticing how tense she was. "It's just lunch." "That's easy for you to say," Maya muttered. "You're not the one being watched by all your coworkers." Jihu glanced around and saw that several employees were indeed watching them quietly. "You're right," he admitted, "but they'll get used to it. And technically, you're not just a cleaning lady anymore. You're my assistant." "Temporarily," Maya corrected him. "We'll see," Jihu said with a mysterious smile. The waiter brought the menus, and Maya looked through hers nervously. The prices were sky-high compared to what she was used to. "Order whatever you like," Jihu said, noticing her hesitation. "It's all on me." "I can't let you pay for my lunch." "Maya," Jihu said patiently, "you're working with me now. This is part of the job." After some convincing, Maya finally ordered a salad and a tropical fruit juice, while Jihu chose grilled fish with vegetables. "So," Jihu said once they were alone, "tell me more about yourself. How did you learn Korean so well?" Maya took a sip of water before answering. "I started watching Korean dramas when I was 16. At first, it was just for fun, but then I fell in love with the culture and the language." "And you studied on your own?" "Yes," Maya nodded. "Library books, online videos, free apps. We didn't have money for private lessons." Jihu was impressed. "That's really something. Korean is considered one of the hardest languages to learn." "Well, I had motivation," Maya said with a shy smile, "and time. After work, I studied for hours." "And your parents, were they supportive?" Maya's smile faded a bit. "My mom works double shifts to support us. She's always been supportive, but she didn't have much time to follow my studies. And my dad, well, he hasn't been in our lives for a long time." Jihu realized he had touched a sensitive topic and gently changed the subject. "So what are your plans for the future?" "Honestly?" Maya gave a short laugh. "I didn't have many plans beyond keeping my job and helping my mom. I never thought speaking Korean would be useful for work." "You should think bigger," Jihu said seriously. "You have more potential than you realize." Before Maya could respond, the waiter arrived with their meals. The food was delicious, and little by little, Maya began to relax. The conversation flowed naturally, and she was surprised by how easy it was to talk to Jihu. "Can I ask you something personal?" Maya asked after a while. "Of course." "Why did you decide to invest in this resort? There must be hundreds of better options around the world." Jihu chewed thoughtfully before answering. "My company is expanding into Latin America, and Mexico is strategic for us. But honestly, after meeting you and seeing how things really work around here, I'm starting to question whether this is the right partnership." Maya felt a knot in her stomach, remembering the conversation she had overheard. "What do you mean?" "Some of the numbers they showed me don't add up. And your comment about how eager they were to close the deal made me think." Maya knew this was the perfect moment to tell him what she had heard. But before she could say anything, her hand slipped as she reached for her juice glass. The red liquid flew straight at Jihu, hitting his gray blazer dead center. A blazer that clearly cost more than Maya made in a year. "Oh my God," Maya cried, jumping to her feet. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." The whole restaurant turned to look. Maya was in a panic, trying to blot the stain with a napkin, only making it worse. "It's ruined," she said, nearly in tears. "I'll pay for a new one, I promise." Jihu glanced at the stained blazer, then at Maya's panicked face, and did something completely unexpected. He started to laugh. It wasn't a polite or forced laugh, but a genuine, contagious one. "You're laughing?" Maya asked in disbelief. "I just ruined a piece of clothing that probably costs more than my car." "Maya," Jihu said, still laughing, "it's just a blazer, and honestly, this is the most genuine reaction I've gotten from anyone in years." "But—" "No buts," Jihu said, taking off the blazer and folding it calmly. "Most people get so nervous around me they can barely hold a glass. At least you have an excuse." Maya stared at him, still not believing his reaction. "You're not upset?" "On the contrary," Jihu smiled. "It was refreshing to see someone being genuinely human." The wave of relief Maya felt was so strong she nearly collapsed into her chair. "You're very different from what I expected," she said. "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone colder, more distant, more businesslike." "Well," Jihu said, "maybe you're meeting me at a different time in my life." There was something in the way he said it that made Maya wonder exactly what he meant. When they finished lunch, they walked back to the front desk. Maya still felt embarrassed about the juice incident, but Jihu seemed genuinely amused by the whole thing. "Seriously," she said for the 10th time, "I'll find a way to pay for a new blazer." "Maya, forget the blazer," Jihu said patiently. "I have 20 just like it." When they reached the front desk, Bruno was standing beside a man Maya didn't recognize. The man was tall, thin, and visibly nervous. "Ah, Mr. Han," Bruno stepped forward quickly. "Allow me to introduce Carlos Mendoza, our official interpreter. He finally arrived." The man stepped forward and began speaking in Korean. "Mr. Han, I apologize for the delay. There was an issue with my flight, but I'm here now and ready to assist you with anything you need." Maya frowned. His accent sounded odd, and he had used an incorrect grammatical form. Jihu replied politely, "Don't worry about the delay. How's your Korean?" "I'm fine, sir," Carlos answered, but Maya instantly realized he had misunderstood the question. Carlos went on, "Bruno told me you're very pleased with the resort and eager to sign the investment contract tomorrow." Maya felt her blood run cold. Jihu had never said that, and she could see by his expression that he had caught the lie too. Jihu looked at Maya, and she gave a discreet nod. "Interesting," Jihu said in Korean, looking directly at Carlos. "Are you sure you understood our earlier conversation correctly?" Carlos hesitated, clearly at a loss. "Yes, of course, we talked about the contract?" The pause and uncertainty were enough to confirm Jihu's suspicions. "Maya," he said calmly, "I think we're going to need your help for longer than we thought." Bruno glanced between the three of them, clearly sensing something had gone wrong, but not quite understanding what. And Maya, noticing the tense look on Carlos's face and Bruno's poorly disguised panic, knew they had just uncovered the tip of a much bigger and more dangerous iceberg. "Well," Bruno said, forcing a smile, "how about we go to the meeting room to discuss the contract details? Carlos can translate everything properly now." Jihu nodded politely, but Maya could see in his eyes that he was in full investigation mode. They headed toward the meeting room, with Bruno practically pushing Carlos ahead of them. Once inside, Bruno spread several documents across the table and began speaking quickly in Spanish, gesturing animatedly. "Carlos, please tell Mr. Feng Han we're very eager to finalize this deal. Explain that all the numbers are correct and there's no need for any additional audit." Carlos nodded and turned to Jihu, beginning to translate. "Mr. Han, Manager Bruno says you expressed great interest in investing in the resort right away. He confirmed you've reviewed all the financial documents and are happy with the results." Maya felt anger rise in her chest. Carlos was completely making up the translation. Keeping a neutral expression, Jihu replied in Korean. "Interesting. I don't recall saying that. In fact, I'd like to review the financial documents from the past 3 years before making any decision." Carlos hesitated for a moment, clearly not fully understanding what Jihu had just said. Then he improvised. "He says there's no need to review anything else, and he's ready to sign now." Bruno smiled broadly, but Maya couldn't hold back any longer. "That's not what he said," she interrupted in Portuguese, looking straight at Carlos. Everyone in the room turned to her. Bruno frowned. "Maya, you shouldn't interrupt." "He's lying," Maya said firmly, then turned to Jihu and repeated in Korean. "Mr. Jihu, this man is not translating your words correctly. You said you wanted to review the financial documents from the past 3 years, but he told them you were ready to sign now." Jihu's face darkened slightly, and he looked straight at Carlos. "Is that true?" he asked in Korean. Carlos started sweating even more and stammered something incoherent. Bruno, realizing things were getting out of hand, tried to step in. "Maya, I think there may have been a misunderstanding." "There was no misunderstanding," Jihu said in Korean, turning to Maya. "Please translate exactly what I'm about to say." Maya nodded and got ready to translate. "Tell Mr. Bruno I'm very disappointed by the attempt to deceive me. Tell him I will not do business with people who use dishonest translators to manipulate conversations." Maya translated Jihu's words and Bruno went pale. Mr. Han, please, there's been a misunderstanding. Jihu kept his eyes on Carlos as he continued. I want it to be clear that I will not be signing any documents today, tomorrow, or anytime soon. Not until I've had enough time to review everything with my own legal team. Maya translated again, and Bruno started to look desperate. Maya, tell this man, Jihu pointed to Carlos, he is no longer welcome in this meeting. Tell him his services are no longer needed. Mr. Jihu no longer requires your services, Maya told Carlos, who looked stunned. But I just got here. Carlos protested. And now you're leaving, Maya replied flatly. Bruno tried to recover the situation. Mr. Han, perhaps we can find another interpreter. Jihu responded directly to Maya in Korean. Tell him I already have an interpreter I completely trust. You. Maya felt a wave of emotion at the trust in his voice, but translated professionally. Mr. Han already has an interpreter he trusts. Carlos walked out of the room with his tail between his legs, and Bruno looked visibly shaken. Maybe we should reschedule this meeting for a time when Mr. Han feels more comfortable, Bruno suggested. Excellent idea, Maya translated Jihu's reply. Mr. Han would like some time to properly review all the documents. When Bruno left the room, clearly defeated, Jihu turned to Maya with a look of genuine gratitude. Thank you, he said simply. You just saved me from making a very expensive mistake. I just translated correctly, Maya replied, still a bit tense from the confrontation. No, Jihu shook his head. You did much more than that. You had the courage to stand up for me when you could have stayed quiet and kept your job safe. Maya felt a warmth in her chest at his words. Well, technically speaking, you're my boss for now. I have to protect your interests. Jihu smiled, but there was something deeper in his expression. Maya, can I trust you? The question was simple but full of meaning. Yes, she answered without hesitation. You can. Then I need your help to understand what's really going on here. Something doesn't feel right, and I have a feeling you've noticed that too. Maya took a deep breath, knowing the time had come to tell him everything. Yesterday, I overheard a conversation between Bruno and Roberto, the financial manager. They were planning to push you into signing quickly so you wouldn't have time to investigate, and Bruno admitted he delayed the original interpreter on purpose. Jihu nodded, not looking surprised. That explains a lot, and it confirms my suspicions about the numbers they gave me. What kind of suspicions? The reported profits are too high for a resort of this size, and some of the operating expenses don't make sense. Maya felt a chill in her stomach. You think they're lying about the financial situation? I think they're hiding something. The question is what and how much. Jihu stood and walked over to the window, looking out at the ocean. Maya, I need you to do me a favor, but it's something that could put you at risk. What kind of risk? If Bruno and his partners really are involved in something illegal, they won't be happy to know we're suspicious. Maya swallowed hard, but kept her voice steady. What do you need me to do? I need you to try to find the real documents, actual financial reports, contracts, anything that could show the real situation of this resort. You want me to spy on my own boss? I want you to find out the truth, Jihu said, turning to her. Because if they're trying to trick me, they're probably deceiving others too, and that affects everyone working here, including you. Maya thought for a moment. She could feel she was about to cross a line she couldn't come back from. All right, she finally said. I'll do it. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel pressured. I'm sure, Maya nodded. But I need to do this my way, in my own time. Of course. And Maya? Yes? Be careful, if they find out what you're doing. I know, Maya interrupted. I'll be careful. That afternoon, Maya waited until Bruno left for an outside meeting before putting her plan into motion. She knew she had at most an hour before he returned. She knocked on the door to his office, and when there was no answer, she used her master key to enter. As a cleaner, she had access to nearly every area of the resort. Bruno's office was extremely tidy, almost obsessively so. Everything was in its place, which made Maya wonder if that was a way to control information. She started by looking through the most obvious files, but found only routine paperwork. Occupancy reports, supply orders, employee schedules, nothing suspicious. Then she noticed something odd. The back wall seemed shorter than it should have been, given the layout of the building. Maya took a closer look and found one of the wood panels slightly loose. When she pushed it, it revealed a small hidden compartment. Inside was a folder with documents that made her heart race. Alternate contracts with completely different numbers than the ones shown to Ji-hoo. Real financial reports showing the resort had actually been losing money for months. And even worse, proof that money was being diverted into personal accounts. But the most shocking document was a contract already filled out, with Ji-hoo's forged signature, transferring a massive sum of money to an offshore account. Maya quickly took photos of everything with her phone, her hands trembling slightly. She was staring at proof of a large-scale fraud that could not only ruin Ji-hoo financially, but destroy the entire resort and all the jobs that depended on it. When she finished, she carefully put everything back where it was and closed the hidden compartment. As she stepped out of the office, she almost ran into Roberto walking down the hallway. "Maya?" he asked, frowning. "What were you doing in Bruno's office?" "Cleaning," she answered quickly, holding up the cleaning supplies she always carried. "He asked me to tidy up before tomorrow's meeting." Roberto studied her for a moment, clearly suspicious, but didn't say anything else. Maya forced a smile and kept walking, but she could feel his eyes on her back. When she got to the elevator, her legs were shaking. She had just uncovered something that could destroy many lives, including her own. Now she had to decide what to do with the information. And more importantly, she had to find a way to tell Ji-hoo without putting both of them in even more danger. As the elevator rose, Maya looked down at the photos on her phone. In her hands was the evidence that could save Ji-hoo from massive fraud. But she also knew that from that moment on, she and Ji-hoo were officially at war with people who would do anything to protect their secrets. The bond between them had been sealed not just by mutual trust, but by the need to survive. And Maya had a feeling the worst was still to come. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept looking over the photos on her phone again and again. The documents she had found were even worse than she first thought. It wasn't just inflated numbers or minor issues. It was a well-organized fraud that had been going on for years. The resort was practically bankrupt, kept running only with money from new investors who were being tricked with fake reports. It was a pyramid scheme disguised as a legitimate business, and Ji-hoo would be just another victim if she didn't act. The next morning, Maya arrived at the resort determined to tell Ji-hoo everything. She found him in the lobby, but her heart sank when she saw he was surrounded by 3 men in suits, clearly other important investors. "Maya," Ji-hoo called, motioning her over. "These are Mr. Yamamoto, Mr. Chen, and Mr. Rodriguez, my partners in other ventures. They've come to evaluate the investment with us." Maya greeted the men politely, but she could see that Ji-hoo was completely absorbed in business discussions. This wasn't the right moment to reveal the fraud. "Mr. Ji-hoo," she said in Korean, "I need to talk to you about something important when you have a moment." "Of course," he replied distractedly. "Maybe later. For now, let's take a tour of the facilities with these gentlemen." Maya watched in frustration as Bruno appeared, wearing a fake smile, and led the group away. For the rest of the morning, Maya tried several times to get close to Ji-hoo, but he was constantly surrounded by the other investors. She noticed that Bruno was making sure Ji-hoo stayed busy. Around noon, Maya decided she couldn't wait any longer. She needed more evidence to strengthen her case, something undeniable, even for the other investors. She went back to Bruno's office, knowing he was busy with the tour. This time, she went straight to the hidden compartment, determined to find something even more concrete. And she did. She found a second set of accounting books, this one showing the real transactions. Money being transferred into personal accounts, fake expenses being created, and, most shocking of all, proof that other investors had already fallen victim to the same scheme. Maya was taking photos of the documents when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly, she closed the compartment and pretended to be cleaning Bruno's desk. "What are you doing here?" Roberto's voice sounded behind her. Maya turned, trying to look natural. "Routine cleaning," she said, but Roberto didn't seem convinced. Bruno didn't ask for cleaning today. In fact, he specifically said not to touch anything in his office. Maya's heart sped up, but she kept her composure. There must have been a mix-up in the schedule. Roberto stepped closer, his eyes scanning Bruno's desk suspiciously. "Did you touch anything?" "Of course not," Maya replied, though she could feel sweat forming on her forehead. That's when Roberto noticed one corner of a document slightly out of place. "You were going through Bruno's papers," he accused, his voice rising. "I wasn't doing anything. Bruno," Roberto shouted into the intercom. "You need to come here right now." Within minutes, Bruno came rushing in, his face red with anger. "What's going on?" "I caught your employee going through your office," Roberto said. "I think she was trying to steal documents." Bruno looked at Maya with a fury she had never seen before. "Is that true, Maya? Were you stealing?" "I wasn't stealing anything," Maya protested. "I was just what?" Bruno cut her off. "You're not authorized to be here when I'm not around. I have a key because I'm in charge of cleaning. A key to clean, not to go through my personal documents," Bruno shouted. Other employees began gathering at the doorway, drawn by the yelling. "I want you to empty your pockets," Bruno demanded, "and I want to see your phone." Panic surged through Maya. "If they found the photos, you have no right to go through my phone." "Yes, I do. If I suspect you've stolen confidential company information," Bruno said, holding out his hand. "Phone. Now." I can't." "Roberto, call security," Bruno ordered. "We'll find out exactly what this thief was doing." "I'm not a thief," Maya protested, but she knew she was cornered. The resort security arrived, and Maya knew that in minutes her cover would be blown. The photos on her phone would reveal everything. "You're fired," Bruno said coldly. "And I'll make sure you never work at any resort in Mexico again." "Please," Maya pleaded, "let me explain." "There's no explanation for theft," Bruno snapped. "Security, escort her out." At that moment, Jihu appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. He quickly looked around, seeing Maya surrounded, Bruno furious, and a crowd of employees watching. "What's going on here?" he asked in Korean. Maya looked at him with desperation in her eyes. "Maya is being fired for theft," Bruno explained in English. "She was caught going through my office." Jihu looked directly at Maya. "Is that true?" Maya took a deep breath, knowing this was her only chance. "I was investigating because I found out you're being deceived," she said in Korean. "They're trying to steal your money." Bruno, not understanding Korean, grew impatient. "What's she saying?" Jihu ignored Bruno completely and kept his eyes on Maya. "What kind of deception?" "Fake documents, false financial reports, forged signatures," Maya said quickly. "I have proof on my phone." Bruno tried to interrupt again. "Mr. Han, this employee is being fired for misconduct. Please don't concern yourself with." Jihu turned to Bruno with a look that made everyone in the room take a step back. "She stays," he said in English with absolute authority. "And I want to hear her side, now." Bruno was speechless. "But Mr. Han." "Now," Jihu repeated, his voice sharp as a blade. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could feel the strength and authority coming from Jihu, and for the first time she truly understood what kind of man he was in the business world. Bruno, clearly realizing he had lost control of the situation, made one last attempt. "Mr. Han, with all due respect, this is an internal matter for the resort. Maya is my assistant," Jihu said firmly, "and any accusation against her concerns me directly." He looked around the room full of curious employees. Everyone out, except Maya and Bruno. There was no arguing with his tone. Within seconds, the room was empty, leaving just the three of them. Jihu turned to Maya. "Now," he said in Korean, "show me the proof." With slightly trembling hands, Maya took out her phone and began showing Jihu the photos. Bruno tried to move closer to see, but Jihu signaled him to stay where he was. "These are the real documents," Maya explained in Korean, flipping through the images. "The numbers they gave you are completely false. The resort's been losing money for months." Jihu studied each photo carefully, his expression growing darker with each image. "And this one?" he asked, pointing to a specific photo. "A contract already prepared with your forged signature," Maya answered, watching as Jihu clenched his fists. "They plan to use it to move the money without your actual approval." The silence in the room was heavy. Bruno didn't understand Korean, but he could clearly tell from Jihu's face that things weren't going his way. He started to sweat visibly. "Where did you find this?" Jihu asked. "In his office, in a hidden compartment behind the wall." Jihu finally turned to Bruno, who tried to force a nervous smile. Mr. Han, whatever she told you. Maya, Jihu said in Korean, translate exactly what I'm about to say. Maya nodded, ready for what was coming. Tell him I know about the fake documents, the stolen money, and the contract with my forged signature. Maya translated word for word, and Bruno's face went white as a sheet. Mr. Han, there must be some kind of misunderstanding. Tell him there is no misunderstanding, Jihu continued, his voice cold as ice. Tell him he has exactly 24 hours to prepare all the real documents, or I'll bring in the Mexican and Korean authorities to investigate. Maya translated, and Bruno began to stammer. But Mr. Han, we can work this out. Tell him our meeting is over, Jihu told Maya, and that he can leave my office. Your office? Bruno asked. Yes, Jihu answered in English, surprising both of them. As of now, I'm taking over the investigation personally. This office is under my authority. Bruno tried to protest, but Jihu's expression left no room for argument. He left the room like a wounded animal, clearly defeated, but still dangerous. When they were alone, Jihu turned to Maya with a look of both gratitude and admiration. You risked everything to protect me, he said in Korean. I couldn't let them deceive you, Maya replied, still shaking a little from the adrenaline. Not after seeing how much you trust people. Jihu stepped closer to her, and Maya saw something different in his eyes. It wasn't just professional gratitude, it was something deeper, more personal. Maya, do you realize what you just did? He said softly. You didn't just protect my investment, you may have saved many others from being tricked in the future. I just did what was right. No, Jihu shook his head. You did much more than that. You showed a kind of courage most people don't have. The moment was broken when Jihu's phone rang. It was one of the other investors, and he had to take the call. Maya used the break to process everything that had just happened. When Jihu finished the call, he looked at her with renewed determination. I'm going to investigate this personally, he said. But I'll need your help. You know this place better than anyone. Of course, I'll do everything I can. But for now, Jihu glanced at the clock, you need a break. It's been a long, intense day. Maya nodded, suddenly feeling emotionally drained. Maya, Jihu said just as she was about to leave, would you like to have dinner with me tonight? In my suite? The question caught her off guard. Why? Because I want to talk to you away from all this chaos. And because, he hesitated, because I'd like to get to know you better. Not just as my assistant, but as a person. Maya's heart skipped a beat. There was something in the way he said it that made her stomach turn with nerves. That wouldn't be appropriate, she finally said. Maya, Jihu said gently, after today, I think we've already gone far beyond what's considered appropriate in a typical work relationship. He wasn't wrong, and Maya knew it. All right, she agreed. But just dinner. Just dinner, Jihu smiled, and Maya felt something melt inside her chest. At 8 o'clock that evening, Maya stood in front of Jihu's suite door, more nervous than she'd ever been in her life. She had changed clothes 3 times before finally settling on a simple but elegant dress she had bought after her first promotion at the resort. Jihu opened the door wearing a casual shirt and dark pants, without his usual formal suit. He looked younger, more relaxed, and even more handsome. You look beautiful, he said in Korean, and Maya felt her cheeks heat up. The suite had been transformed. The dining table was set with candles, flowers, and a stunning view of the ocean at sunset. It was romantic without being over the top, elegant without being intimidating. This is, wow, Maya said, looking around. I thought we deserved something special after the day we had, Jihu said, pulling out a chair for her. Dinner was prepared by the resort's private chef, and Maya had never tasted food so delicious. But what impressed her most was the conversation. Away from work pressures, Jihu was funny, thoughtful, and surprisingly humble. In Korea, he was saying, my grandmother used to say, you can see a person's true character in how they treat someone who has nothing to offer them. She sounds wise. She was, Jihu smiled sadly. She raised me after my parents died in a car accident. She was just a seamstress, but she taught me more about life and business than any university ever could. Maya felt a deep connection to his story. My mom raised me on her own too, she shared. And she also taught me that honest work means more than easy money. Maybe that's why we understand each other so well, Jihu said, pouring wine for both of them. As the evening went on, the conversation grew more personal. They laughed over childhood stories, shared dreams and fears, and Maya found herself forgetting completely about their different worlds. "Can I tell you something?" Jihu said, as they stood on the balcony, looking at the stars. "Of course." "When you spilled that juice on my blazer, it was the first time in years someone treated me like a normal person, not like a walking bank account." Maya laughed. "Well, technically, I was mortified. And that's what made it so real," Jihu smiled, stepping a little closer to her. The moment grew more intense. They were standing very close, looking into each other's eyes. Maya could feel his breath, the warmth of his body. "Maya," Jihu whispered, gently touching her face. She knew he was about to kiss her, and for a moment, she wanted it more than anything. But then reality hit her like cold water. "I can't," she said, stepping back abruptly. "I don't belong in your world, Jihu." "Maya?" "No." She shook her head, grabbing her bag. "This is crazy. You're a billionaire, I'm a cleaning lady. A week from now, you'll be gone, and I'll just be someone you used to know. That's not true." "It is," Maya said, walking toward the door. "And I can't let myself forget that." Jihu tried to stop her, but she was already leaving. "Maya, please, don't go like this." She paused at the door, without turning around. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Han. I'll see you tomorrow so we can continue our work." And with that, she left, leaving Jihu standing alone on the balcony, staring at the stars and wondering how things had changed between them so quickly. Maya cried all the way home, knowing she had done the right thing, but feeling like she had just let go of something that could have changed her life forever. The next morning, Maya arrived at work determined to keep her distance from Jihu. She had spent the entire night thinking about what almost happened on that balcony, and she knew she had to protect her heart before it was too late. When Jihu greeted her at the front desk, she responded formally in Korean. "Good morning, Mr. Han. How can I assist you today?" The coldness in his voice was obvious, and Maya saw a shadow of pain pass through his eyes. "Maya, about last night." "Mr. Han," she interrupted, "I suggest we focus on work-related matters." Jihu was silent for a moment, clearly frustrated. "All right," he finally said, "but we still need to talk about the investigation." "Of course, I'll be available during business hours." All morning, Maya avoided being alone with Jihu. Whenever he tried to bring up personal matters, she steered the conversation toward professional topics. When he suggested having lunch together, she claimed she already had other plans. By the afternoon, Jihu could no longer hide his frustration. "Maya," he said in Korean when he finally found a moment alone with her, "why are you avoiding me?" "I'm not avoiding you. I'm maintaining a proper professional stance." "Proper?" Jihu frowned. "After everything we went through yesterday, you want to pretend nothing has changed between us?" Maya's heart sped up, but she forced her voice to stay firm. "Nothing has changed, Mr. Han. I'm your temporary assistant and you're my temporary boss. You know that's not true." "It's the only truth that matters," Maya replied, trying to leave the room. Jihu gently took her arm. "Maya, please. I'm not asking for anything you don't want to give. I'm only asking you not to shut me out completely." The sincerity in his voice almost broke her resolve. "Jihu," she began, using his name for the first time. "Just keep being my interpreter and confidant," he asked. "Not just for business, but as a friend. Can I count on that?" Maya looked into his eyes and saw something that made her give in, at least partially. "All right," she finally said, "but only as a friend and assistant." "Only as a friend," Jihu agreed, though they both knew there was much more than friendship between them. Meanwhile, Bruno was in his temporary office, plotting his revenge. Maya's discovery of the documents had ruined his plans, and now he needed to find a way to discredit her before she could cause more damage. "Roberto," he said into the phone, "I need your help with something, and it has to be today." "What do you want me to do?" "We're going to take care of this Maya once and for all." An hour later, Bruno put his plan into action. He waited until Maya went to the restroom, leaving her bag in the staff locker room. Quickly, he slipped an envelope of cash into her bag and left. When Maya returned, Bruno was waiting with 2 security guards and several witnesses. "Maya Lopez," he said loudly, drawing the attention of all nearby employees. I need to search your bag." "What? Why?" Maya asked, confused. "We received a report that money was stolen from the front desk cash register," Bruno lied, "and you were seen near the area." "This is ridiculous. I didn't steal anything." "Then you won't mind if we check," Bruno said, signaling to one of the guards. Furious but confident in her innocence, Maya handed over her bag. Her heart sank when the guard pulled out an envelope full of cash. "That's not mine," she shouted. "Someone planted that there." "Of course it's not yours," Bruno said sarcastically. "You just stole it from the resort." "Merde," the employees nearby started whispering. Some looked shocked, others doubtful. Maya felt the world spinning around her. "I swear I didn't steal this money. Someone is framing me." "Maya," Bruno said with fake sadness, "I'm very disappointed. I thought you were an honest employee." "I am honest," Maya cried, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Take her away," Bruno ordered the guards, "and call the police." At that moment, Jihu appeared, drawn by the commotion. He saw Maya surrounded by guards, clearly panicked, and Bruno wearing an expression of false indignation. "What's going on?" he asked in Korean. Maya looked at him with desperation. "They're saying I stole money, but I didn't. Someone put it in my bag." Jihu immediately understood and turned to Bruno. "Explain what's happening," he said in English, his voice sharp. "Mr. Han," Bruno began, "I'm sorry you had to see this, but we discovered that Maya stole money from the resort. We found the evidence in her bag." Jihu looked at Maya, then at the money, then back at Bruno. "Are you absolutely sure she stole this?" "The evidence speaks for itself," Bruno said, clearly pleased with himself. Jihu stepped closer to Maya, who was trembling with anger and humiliation. "Maya," he said in Korean, "look me in the eyes and tell me, did you steal this money?" "No," Maya answered firmly. "I would never do that." Jihu studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you." He turned to face Bruno and all the gathered employees. "This woman," he said loudly, taking Maya's hand, "is the most honest person I've met in years." Bruno tried to argue. "Mr. Han, the evidence..." "Evidence can be planted," Jihu cut in, "but character can't be faked." He raised Maya's hand and in front of everyone gently kissed it. "She's the only reason I'm still here," he said clearly, making sure everyone heard him. The lobby fell completely silent. Maya felt tears roll down her cheeks, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief. Bruno went pale, realizing his plan had completely fallen apart. "Mr. Han," he tried again, "even so, the resort's rules..." "The resort's rules," Jihu said coldly, "will now be decided by me, and the first rule is that Maya Lopez is under my personal protection." He turned to the security team. "Release her immediately." Then, looking straight at Bruno, "And I want a full investigation into how that money ended up in her bag. Something tells me we're going to find some very interesting things." Bruno swallowed hard, realizing he had seriously underestimated both Maya and Jihu. Maya looked at Jihu, still holding his hand, and knew that no matter how much she tried to keep her distance, their lives were now deeply connected. "Thank you," she whispered in Korean. "Always," he replied. And Maya felt that maybe, just maybe, she truly belonged in his world after all. The next morning, Jihu called an emergency meeting with the resort's entire board of directors. Maya was nervous, knowing this would be the moment to reveal all the evidence she had collected. The conference room was full. The general manager, Roberto, 2 board members from Mexico City, and Bruno, who was trying to keep a confident look despite everything. "Gentlemen," Jihu began in Spanish, surprising everyone with his fluency, "I've called this meeting to discuss serious issues we've uncovered in the resort's management." Bruno tried to interrupt. "Mr. Han, if this is about the baseless accusations from yesterday, it's about systematic financial fraud." Jihu cut him off sharply. "Maya, please present the evidence." Maya took a deep breath and stood up, connecting her phone to the projector. Her hands shook a little, but her voice was steady. "During my investigation, I found 2 sets of accounting books," she began, showing the first photos. "These are the reports given to Mr. Han, showing healthy profits." She moved to the next image. "And these are the real reports, found in Mr. Bruno's office, showing the resort has been losing money for 8 straight months." There was a murmur around the room. The general manager leaned forward, studying the images closely. Maya went on, her confidence growing. I also found proof of unauthorized transfers to personal accounts, fake expenses created to hide money going out, and most seriously, she showed the photo of the contract with Jihu's forged signature. A contract prepared ahead of time, with Mr. Han's signature forged, meant to transfer funds without his actual approval. The room went dead silent. Bruno was pale, but tried to fight back. These images could have been faked. This woman broke into my office. Mr. Bruno, the general manager interrupted, are you saying this evidence is false? I'm saying she had no right to be in my office. Jihu calmly stood. Maya, he said in Korean, translate exactly what I'm going to say. Maya nodded. Tell the board I hired an independent auditing firm to verify this information. Their findings came in this morning and confirm everything Maya has shown. Maya translated, and Bruno looked visibly shaken. Also, Jihu continued, my legal team is already preparing the documents to involve both Mexican and Korean authorities in this investigation. When Maya finished translating, the general manager turned to Bruno with a stern expression. Mr. Bruno Martinez, you are suspended from all duties, effective immediately, while a full investigation is carried out. Bruno stood up suddenly, his polite mask finally slipping. You're all going to regret this, he said, looking directly at Maya. Especially you. The threat was clear, and Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Mr. Martinez, Jihu said coldly, I suggest you choose your next words very carefully. Bruno stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him, and Maya knew she had just made a dangerous enemy. After the meeting, Jihu and Maya walked quietly through the resort's garden. The air was tense, and Maya could feel that Jihu had something important to say. You were amazing today, he finally said in Korean. The way you presented the evidence, how clear and brave you were, it was impressive. Thank you, Maya replied, but her voice sounded distant. Are you worried about Bruno's threat? A little, she admitted. Men like him don't take defeat easily. Jihu stopped walking and turned to face her. Maya, can I ask you something personal? Sure. How did you learn Korean so well? You're not just fluent, you sound almost native. That's really rare for someone who taught themselves. Maya hesitated for a moment, then decided to be honest. My father was Korean, she finally said. Jihu raised his eyebrows in surprise. Was? Yes, Maya sighed. He met my mother while working in Mexico for a short time. They had a relationship, but when she got pregnant, he went back to Korea and never contacted her again. And you never tried to find him? I don't even know his real name. Maya shrugged. My mom only knew the nickname he used here. But she used to tell me stories about Korean culture, and when I grew up, I got interested in learning the language. It felt like a way to connect with the part of me I've never known. Jihu stayed silent for a long moment, taking it in. That's why you have such a natural feel for the language, he said, and maybe why we understand each other so well. You have Korean blood. Half Korean, half Mexican, Maya said with a sad smile, and not fully belonging to either world. Maya, Jihu said gently, you can belong to any world you choose. There was something in the way he said it that made Maya's heart race. What do you mean? Jihu took a deep breath, as if making a big decision. I've decided to extend my stay in Mexico, he said. This investigation will take weeks, and I want to oversee it myself to make sure justice is served. That's a good decision, Maya replied, trying to keep her voice neutral. And I want you to keep working as my assistant during the entire process. Of course, I'll be available. Jihu stopped again and turned to look at her directly. Maya, he said, his voice full of emotion, when all this is over, I want to take you to Seoul with me. Maya was stunned. She stood still, not knowing what to say. Jihu? Don't give me an answer now, he said quickly. Just think about it. You could see the country your father came from, work with my company, have opportunities you might never have imagined. And leave my mom? My life here? Your mom could visit anytime she wanted, or even move too, if she'd like. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. Why would you do this for me? Jihu stepped closer and gently took her hands. Because in just a few days, you've changed the way I see everything. Because you've shown me what it really means to trust someone. And because... He paused. Because I'm falling in love with you, Maya Lopez. His words hung in the air between them. Maya felt like her world had turned upside down. Jihu? You don't have to say anything now, he repeated. Just promise you'll think about it." Maya looked into his eyes and saw honesty, hope, and a kind of love she never expected to find. "I will think about it," she finally whispered. And as they walked back to the resort, Maya knew her life had changed forever. The question now was whether she'd be brave enough to embrace that change. In the days that followed Jihu's proposal, Maya found herself constantly deep in thought. The idea of going to Korea felt like a mix of an impossible dream and a frightening reality. While working, she and Jihu maintained a professional tone, but there was a new closeness in how they spoke to each other, as if they were both trying to find their way through unfamiliar territory. One afternoon, while they were going over documents in the meeting room, Jihu noticed Maya staring out the window, lost in thought. "Are you okay?" he asked in Korean, setting the papers aside. Maya looked up, realizing she hadn't been seeing anything outside at all. "Sorry, I was just thinking." "About Korea?" "Among other things," she admitted. "It's hard to picture a life completely different from the one I've always known." Jihu leaned forward slightly. "Tell me about your dreams, Maya. What have you always wanted to do, but never thought possible?" The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked about her dreams before. "Well," she began hesitantly, "I've always dreamed of traveling, seeing the world, learning about different cultures, and maybe working with languages professionally." "As a translator?" "Maybe. Or as a teacher. I've always thought it would be amazing to help people connect across language barriers." Jihu smiled. "You know, my company has an entire department dedicated to international communication, and we're always looking for people with your talent and passion." Maya felt a wave of excitement, quickly followed by doubt. "Jihu, you can't just create opportunities for me because there's something between us." "Maya," he said seriously, "I didn't get where I am by mixing business with personal feelings. If I'm offering this, it's because you genuinely deserve it." The sincerity in his voice made Maya's heart race. "And what about my mom? This is the only life she knows. Your mother works 2 jobs to support both of you, doesn't she?" Jihu asked gently. "In Korea, with the salary you'd earn, she could stop working if she wanted to, or find something that truly makes her happy." Maya had never thought about it that way before. The idea of giving her mother a better life was tempting. "You really think I could adapt? A Mexican girl in Seoul?" "Maya," Jihu said, standing and holding out his hand, "will you take a walk with me? There's something I want to show you." They walked to the resort's Japanese garden, a quiet corner with ornamental stones, a small bridge over an artificial pond, and flowers that bloomed even during Mexico's driest season. "This garden was designed by a Korean landscaper," Jihu explained. "He managed to bring a piece of Asia here to Mexico, adapting local plants to create something completely new, yet still true to its original essence." Maya understood the metaphor instantly. "You're saying I could be like these plants?" "I'm saying beauty and strength can flourish anywhere, as long as they have the right care and conditions." They stopped on the bridge, gazing at the moon's reflection on the water. The night was warm, with a soft breeze carrying the scent of tropical flowers mixed with the delicate aroma of Asian plants. "Maya," Jihu said softly, "can I make a confession?" "Of course. I've never felt so at ease with anyone before. With you, I can just be myself. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just Jihu." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. "You make me feel different too, like I could be more than I ever thought possible." Jihu turned fully toward her, his hands gently cupping her face. "Maya Lopez," he said in a low voice, "you've made me believe again that some things in life are worth more than money or success." "Jihu?" This time when he leaned in to kiss her, Maya didn't pull away. The kiss was soft, tender, full of unspoken promises and shared hopes. When they parted, both were smiling. "This changes everything, doesn't it?" Maya whispered. "It changes everything," Jihu agreed, "and I don't mind one bit." They stayed wrapped in each other's arms under the stars, and for the first time since they'd met, Maya allowed herself to truly imagine a future with him. While Maya and Jihu shared their romantic moment in the garden, Bruno was putting his revenge plan into motion. Using a master key he had kept even after his suspension, he broke into Jihu's suite. Bruno knew exactly what he was looking for. The confidential documents Jihu had brought about his other investments. information that could be sold to competitors or used for blackmail. He found Jihu's laptop open on the desk and quickly inserted a flash drive, copying important files. He also photographed physical documents spread across the desk, including contracts and highly confidential business strategies. "Let's see who gets the last laugh," Bruno muttered as he finished copying the files. Before leaving, he carefully planted evidence to implicate Maya in the theft. Strands of her hair he had collected from the staff locker room, a pen she often used, and even a photo of her he had taken from her personnel file. The next morning, Jihu was having breakfast when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" he answered in Korean. "Mr. Han?" The voice was male, but disguised. "I have important information about a theft in your suite." "What theft?" Jihu frowned. "Check your confidential documents. And when you see what's missing, know that it was your assistant, Maya, who did it." "That's ridiculous. She has access to your suite, she knows your schedule, and she's desperate for money. Check your files, Mr. Han. The truth is there." The call ended. Jihu rushed to his suite and immediately noticed that his laptop had been moved. When he checked his files, he saw that important documents had been copied. Even worse, he found Maya's hair near the computer and her pen on the desk. For a moment, Jihu felt like the room was spinning. The evidence was too convincing to ignore. But then he remembered their kiss the night before, the honesty in Maya's eyes, everything they had shared. "No," he said out loud to the empty room. "This doesn't make sense," but the doubt had already been planted. And Jihu knew he had to confront Maya about what he'd found, even if it meant destroying everything between them. Bruno's trap was working perfectly. The next morning, Maya arrived at work with a smile she couldn't hide. The kiss from the night before had changed everything, and for the first time, she allowed herself to dream of a future that once felt impossible. When she saw Jihu waiting for her at the front desk, her heart skipped with joy. But something felt off. His expression was cold, distant, not at all like the kind, tender man who had kissed her under the stars. "Good morning, Mr. Han," she said in Korean, trying to keep things professional, though she smiled with hope. "Maya," Jihu answered flatly. "I need to speak with you. In private." The formal tone and coldness in his voice made Maya's smile fade immediately. They walked in silence to an empty meeting room, and Maya could feel the tension coming off him. Once the door closed, Jihu turned to her with an expression she had never seen before. It was pain, mixed with disappointment and something that looked like suspicion. "Maya," he began, "last night, after we said goodbye, someone broke into my suite and stole important confidential documents." Maya felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "What? That's terrible. Do you have any idea who?" "Have you been in my suite recently?" Jihu cut her off. The question completely caught her off guard. "No, of course not. Not since that dinner, and that was days ago. Why are you asking me this?" Jihu hesitated for a moment, as if struggling with himself, then pulled a plastic bag from his pocket containing strands of hair and a pen. "Because I found this in my suite. Your hair. Your pen." Maya stared at the items in growing disbelief. "Jihu, I don't know how those things got there, but I didn't go into your suite." "Maya," his voice was full of frustration, "you're the only one with access. You know my schedule. You know where I keep my documents." "You're accusing me of stealing from you?" Maya asked, her voice rising. "I'm trying to understand how your personal things ended up at the scene of a crime." "Crime?" Maya felt tears of anger and hurt begin to well up. "Are you calling me a criminal? I'm trying to give you a chance to explain." "A chance?" Maya burst out. "A chance to defend myself against accusations that should never have been made in the first place? Jihu, after everything we've been through, after last night, do you really believe I could steal from you?" Jihu ran a hand through his hair, clearly torn. "I don't know what to believe, Maya. The evidence." "The evidence could be lying," Maya shouted, "but apparently you'd rather trust some objects than trust me." "Maya, please help me understand." "Understand what?" Now the tears were streaming down her face. "That after I risked my job to protect you, after I exposed a fraud that could have cost you millions, after I opened my heart to you last night, you still doubt me the very first chance you get?" Jihu said nothing, and that silence hurt more than any accusation. "I trusted you," Maya said sadly. "I trusted you completely. And you didn't even give me the benefit of the doubt. Maya. No, she shook her head. Don't say anything else. I understand exactly where I stand in your list of priorities. Maya walked toward the door but paused before leaving. You know what the saddest part of all this is, Jihu? She said without turning around. For a moment, I actually believed I could belong in your world. But now I see I'll always just be the cleaning lady you'll never truly trust. She walked out of the room, leaving Jihu alone with the weight of her words. 2 hours later, Maya was in the general manager's office, handing in her resignation letter. Are you sure about this, Maya? The director asked. We know you're innocent of the previous accusations, and Mr. Han spoke very highly of your work. I'm sure, Maya said firmly. I can't keep working in a place where my integrity is constantly being questioned. But Mr. Han said it was just a misunderstanding between the two of you. Some misunderstandings can't be undone, Maya replied. When Jihu heard about the resignation, he rushed to find Maya, but she was already gone. He felt devastated, realizing too late that he'd made a terrible mistake. Over the next 3 days, Jihu could barely focus on anything. He went over the situation again and again, and the more he thought about it, the less sense it made to believe that Maya had stolen from him. She had risked everything to protect him before. Why would she betray him now? That's when he decided to investigate on his own. He started by reviewing the resort's internal security cameras, something he hadn't done at first because he trusted the physical evidence. What he found made him furious with himself. The footage clearly showed Bruno entering his suite the night of the theft, leaving with a flash drive, and, worse, deliberately planting Maya's hair and her pen near the computer. Further investigation revealed that Bruno had taken those items from the staff locker room days earlier. There were even audio recordings of Bruno making the anonymous call accusing Maya. Jihu was crushed. Not only had Bruno fooled him, but he had also betrayed the trust of the one person who truly cared about him. And now Maya had disappeared. Jihu spent 2 days searching for her throughout the city. Finally, one of her former co-workers mentioned seeing her working at a small roadside cafe on the way to the neighboring town. He drove there and found the place, a simple little cafe with a few tables and a view of the mountains. Maya was outside cleaning the large glass windows, wearing a plain uniform and her hair tied back in a ponytail. Jihu parked and watched her for a moment. Even doing such a simple job, there was a quiet dignity about her that he admired. She worked with care and attention to detail, treating even this basic task with respect. When Maya saw him, she stopped cleaning and just looked at him with no expression. Jihu walked toward her slowly. Maya, he said in Korean, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain, she replied, going back to cleaning the window. You made your feelings perfectly clear. I was wrong, completely wrong. Yes, you were. Bruno planted the evidence. I have the security footage to prove it. Maya stopped cleaning again, but didn't turn around. How long did it take you to find that out? 3 days, Jihu admitted, ashamed. 3 days to realize something you should have known from the first second, Maya said bitterly, that I would never betray you. Jihu stepped closer. Maya, I'm so sorry. I have no excuse for what I did. I let fear and suspicion drown out what I knew in my heart. And now? Maya finally turned to face him. You expect me to just forget it happened and pretend everything's fine? I want the chance to earn back your trust, Jihu said sincerely. I know I don't deserve it, but… You're right, Maya interrupted. You don't. The words stung, but Jihu knew he deserved them. Maya, he said softly, you taught me how to see what's hidden. You showed me that the most valuable people are often the ones no one notices. And I was too blind to see that the most valuable person in my life was right in front of me. Maya felt tears forming, but held them back. Nice words, Jihu, but trust doesn't get rebuilt with speeches. Then tell me what I need to do, he begged. Tell me how to fix this. Maya looked at him for a long moment, seeing the pain in his eyes, but still feeling the deep hurt inside her own heart. I don't know if it can be fixed, she said finally. Some things once broken are never the same again. Jihu felt his heart shatter, but nodded, understanding that his actions had consequences. I understand, he said, but Maya, I love you, and I'll keep loving you, even if you can never forgive me. With that, he turned and walked back to his car, leaving Maya standing there with tears in her eyes and a broken heart, knowing he had lost the one thing that truly mattered. A week after their meeting at the cafe, Maya was wiping down tables when she noticed unusual activity on the road. Several cars were heading toward the small place, including a local news van. Her heart raced when she recognized Jihu's car among them. Jihu stepped out of the vehicle with a small group that included the resort's general manager, some employees Maya recognized, journalists, and, surprisingly, a man she didn't know carrying simultaneous translation equipment. "Maya Lopez?" Jihu said loudly in Korean, making sure everyone could hear. "I need to make a public statement." The interpreter immediately repeated it in Spanish. "Maya Lopez, I need to make a public statement." Maya stopped what she was doing, confused and a little irritated by all the commotion. "What are you doing, Jihu?" Jihu responded in Korean, and the interpreter relayed his words. "I am apologizing publicly so that everyone knows Maya Lopez is the most honest, brave, and honorable woman I have ever met." Then, in front of everyone, Jihu knelt down in front of the cafe. The words that followed, carefully translated, echoed for all the cafe staff, curious customers, and the resort team who had come to witness it. "I need everyone to fully understand what I'm saying," Jihu spoke, pausing for the interpreter to keep up. "Maya Lopez saved my investment, exposed a fraud that could have harmed hundreds of people, and risked everything to protect the truth. And I repaid her by doubting her at the first sign of trouble." Maya felt her face grow warm with all eyes on her, but she also felt tears forming as she heard the sincerity in his voice. "Jihu, get up," she said. "You're making a scene. I need to make a scene, because I need everyone to know I made the biggest mistake of my life by doubting you." He turned to the cameras, speaking as the interpreter ensured everyone understood. "Maya Lopez is more than an exemplary employee. She is a person of exceptional character who deserves recognition and respect." Jihu stood and stepped closer to Maya, his next words carefully translated. "Maya, will you come back? Not as my assistant, but as the resort's director of international communications, with the salary, benefits, and recognition you deserve." The offer caught her completely off guard. "Director?" The general manager stepped forward, speaking directly in Spanish. "The board approved it unanimously. After reviewing everything you've done, we recognize that you deserve far more than praise. You deserve a career." Maya looked around, seeing familiar faces of coworkers who had come to support her. Cameras recording everything, and Jihu watching her with hope in his eyes. "And Bruno?" she asked. "In jail," Jihu answered through the interpreter. "Mexican authorities arrested him yesterday for fraud and forgery. The camera evidence was more than enough." Maya took a deep breath, feeling as if a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "All right," she said at last. "I accept the position." The small group erupted in applause. Cafe staff smiled and clapped as well, and Maya saw tears of relief in Jihu's eyes. 3 months later, Maya was in her new office at the resort, reviewing international partnership contracts when Jihu appeared at the door. "Director Lopez, do you have a few minutes for your CEO?" Maya smiled. Over the past months, they had slowly rebuilt their friendship and professional trust, but both had carefully avoided any romantic topics. "Of course, Mr. Han. What can I do for you?" "Actually," Jihu stepped inside and closed the door. "This isn't about work." Maya raised her eyebrows. "No?" "Maya," Jihu walked up to her desk. "Will you have dinner with me tonight? Not as co-workers, but as two people who would like to start over?" Maya's heart sped up. They had been circling around this possibility for weeks. "Jihu, I know I've made terrible mistakes," he said quickly. "I know I broke your trust, and it will take time to earn it back. But would you be willing to give me a second chance? A real chance this time?" Maya looked at him, seeing sincerity and vulnerability in his eyes. "Where?" "It's a surprise," Jihu smiled, "but I promise it will be special." That evening, Maya was taken to a private beach at the resort that had been transformed into a fairy tale setting. Soft lights illuminated a table set on the sand, flower petals created a path to the ocean, and gentle music played from hidden speakers. "Jihu?" Maya sighed. "This is beautiful." "You deserve beautiful things," he said, pulling out her chair. During dinner, they talked like they used to, but with a new kind of depth. Jihu spoke about how he had reflected on his mistakes, how he had learned to value honesty and loyalty even more. Maya shared how she had grown both professionally and personally over the past few months. "Maya," Jihu said as they finished eating, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you still think about going to Korea?" Maya smiled. "Every day, but now for different reasons." "What kind of different?" "Before it was about running away from my life. Now it would be about starting a new adventure with the right person." Jihu reached across the table and took her hand. "Maya Lopez, would you like to be my girlfriend?" Maya laughed, her cheeks turning pink. "Are you officially asking me to be your girlfriend?" "I'm asking you to be a part of my life, in every possible way." "Yes," Maya said without hesitation. "Yes, I do." Jihu stood up and kissed her gently, with the sound of the waves behind them and stars shining above. 6 months later, Maya was at Seoul's international airport, holding Jihu's hand as they stepped off the plane. It was her first time in Korea, and she was both nervous and excited. "Welcome to Korea," Jihu said in Korean, kissing her forehead. The days that followed felt magical. Jihu took her to Jeonbokgung Palace, where Maya was fascinated by the traditional architecture and the changing of the guard ceremony. "It's just like in the dramas," Maya said, taking pictures of everything. "And even more beautiful in real life," Jihu smiled, enjoying her excitement. They went to the Myeongdong market, where Maya tried foods she had only seen in dramas. The tteokbokki was so spicy it made her cry, but she insisted on finishing the whole dish, making Jihu laugh. "You don't have to prove anything," he said, handing her some milk. "Yes, I do," Maya replied through tears. "It's my boyfriend's food." They went up Seoul Tower to see the city lights at night, and Maya was amazed by the view. "It's even more beautiful than I imagined," she said, looking out at the lights stretching across the horizon. "And we still have so much more to see," Jihu said with a smile. They visited the home where Jihu had grown up with his grandmother, a small apartment in a traditional neighborhood. Maya met the neighbors who still remembered him as a child, and they were all charmed by the Mexican girlfriend who spoke fluent Korean. "She's perfect for you," an elderly woman said in Korean, making Maya blush. They went to Busan to see the ocean and eat fresh seafood, to Jeju Island to walk through yellow flower fields, and even visited ancient temples where Maya learned about Korean spirituality. But the most special moment came during cherry blossom season. Jihu took Maya to Yoido Park, where thousands of cherry trees were in full bloom, forming a tunnel of pink and white petals falling like snow. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," Maya whispered, twirling among the petals like natural confetti. Families were having picnics under the trees, couples were taking photos, and children were running around trying to catch the petals in the air. It felt like a moment straight out of a dream. "Maya," Jihu said, kneeling in the middle of the cherry blossom path. Maya stopped spinning and looked at him, her heart racing when she saw the small box in his hands. "Jihu? Maya Lopez?" His voice shaking with emotion. "You changed my life with a simple cup of coffee and the courage to speak the truth. You taught me that true love is about trust, respect, and growing together. You showed me that the most valuable people are often the ones others don't even see." Tears started to roll down Maya's cheeks as people around them began to notice and pause to watch. "In you, I found not just a girlfriend, but my best friend, my confidante, and the woman who makes me want to be a better man every single day." Jihu opened the box, revealing a stunning ring that sparkled under the light coming through the cherry blossoms. "Maya Lopez, will you marry me?" he asked. "And build a life where we can truly belong in each other's world?" "Yes," Maya shouted, throwing her arms around him. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Jihu lifted her off the ground as cherry blossom petals fell around them like confetti. People clapped, children cheered, and even a few grandmothers wiped away tears. When he set her down, he slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her deeply under the pink petals. "I love you, Maya Lopez." "I love you, Jihu-han." A small child came up and offered her a handful of petals, saying in Korean, "For the pretty bride." Maya knelt down and thanked her in perfect Korean, making the little girl beam with happiness. "She's going to make an amazing Korean," Jihu laughed, watching Maya interact so naturally with everyone around her. I'm already halfway there, Maya replied, admiring the ring. And now, I'm going to be completely yours. They walked hand in hand under the cherry blossom tunnel, petals still gently falling around them, knowing they had found something rare and precious. A love that went beyond cultures, social classes, and any obstacle the world could put in their way. What did you think of Maya and Jihu's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. And take a moment to check out more touching stories by clicking right here on the end screen.